and the midah that the Torah points out in Moshe Rabbeinu is Anava, Ish Moshe Onav, the greatest Onav on earth. We discussed Anava last time. Anava means it's not about me, it's about the cause. Let's further expound on it by going through Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu was different than the rest of Klal Yisrael. I don't just mean in his greatness. I'm talking about his background, his history. Moshe Rabbeinu was not born into slavery. He was brought up in the palace. Vayigdal Aish, when he grew up, Vayetzel Achav, he went outside. Rashi says he went to his brethren. What does that mean? Nasan Eino Valibo. To understand them, to feel for them. He saw the plight of Klal Yisrael, felt their pain. Leadership in Klal Yisrael doesn't mean sitting in some ivory tower and telling people what to do. Leadership is understanding the pain of the people. Over the generations, Gdolei Yisrael have spent so much of their time listening to the personal tzoros, the struggles, the pain of individuals within the nation. Of course, they raised money for them, took care of their needs, gave personal support. Anava. Anava means you're there with the people. It's very interesting halacha with regard to all rabbinical law, all d'rabbanans. Back in the day when the Sanhedrin was making rules, be it a takana, be it a gzeira, it did not take effect until we saw that people were actually practicing it. If it turned out that the everyman couldn't live with it, it didn't become halacha. How is that? The role of Chazal was really to create, whether these fences, ordinances, on behalf of the people. This is what Klal Yisrael really wants to set up for itself. It is the role of the leadership to understand us. If the everyman did not find this livable, then they obviously missed it. It was Gzeira Shein Rov Hatzibur Yichol La'amod Ba. It was a Gzeira that was just, it wasn't doable. Why was it disqualified? The rabbis declared it. The Sanhedrin passed it. No, they missed the mark. They're obviously detached from where the people are. included in this selflessness, included in this anava, is a requirement that a leader be there with the people, understand their struggles, not take advantage of the fact that as a leader, he can be afforded all sorts of privilege that they don't get. Then he doesn't really understand them. In fact, leadership means understanding the people, perhaps even more than they understand themselves. This is all part of another. This is all part of selflessness. Forget about me. It's not about me. It's about the needs of Klal Yisrael. It's where Klal Yisrael is at. Moshe Rabbeinu goes even further. Lo chamor echad mehem nasasi. I took nothing from the public funding. I didn't confiscate anyone's donkey. Leaders cannot see themselves as sort of owning everybody and everything, where everyone owes them to take care of their needs. The leader is to be selfless. Going further, the leader is willing to sacrifice anything on behalf of the nation because it's not him. It's not about him. Moshe Rabbeinu, when pleading on behalf of Klal Yisrael, says, "V'im ayin," if you're not willing to forgive Klal Yisrael, "Mecheni na misifuk asher kosavta," take me out of the Torah. Indeed, we're taught that the reason why Moshe Rabbeinu's name does not appear in Parshas Tetzaveh is a fulfillment of that request. He's all about the needs of Klal Yisrael. In truth, Hashem really accepts that attitude of Moshe Rabbeinu. After the Jewish people creates the Egel, Moshe Rabbeinu was up in heaven 40 days, 40 nights to receive the entire Torah. After the Jewish people goes and creates the golden calf, so Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu, Lech reid, go down. Rashi says, Lech reid migdulascha. I brought you up to the highest of levels. Go down. I only gave them to you on behalf of the Jewish nation. Everything Moshe Rabbeinu received, in terms of those higher levels, he did only in his role as the leader. And Hashem already at that point says, if the Jews, if they've left that, then I guess you've got to give up all of those levels that you received. This becomes the reality of Moshe Rabbeinu. He is there for the Jewish people. When Hashem makes him an offer, I'll destroy the rest and we'll start over again with you and your family. Instead of the Bnei Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, instead of us being Bnei Yisrael, the children of Israel, we'll be the children of Moshe. And Moshe Rabbeinu rejects it. That's not what he's interested in. It's not about him. It's about Klal Yisrael. So very much like I mentioned last time, it is not that you become a leader and then look for a cause. It's that the cause makes you, inspires you, incites you to assume a position of leadership. So, this entire program, which is intended on inspiring you to be leaders, is not about this leadership program that we've got because part of our job is making leaders. Aish was established for one purpose: to do whatever possible to fight Jewish ignorance, to fight assimilation. That is why we try and develop leaders in answer to the problem. When one looks to the pre-war yeshivas, the one that was most famous in its producing leaders of the Jewish nation was Slobodka. And one could think, yeah, they were in the business of producing leaders. The Alter Slobodka, the Mashkiach, Avram Grudzinski, they knew how to bring out the best in people, drive them to greatness, inspire them to greatness. So one may think that the goal was leadership, and then do what you want. It's a mistake. The entire yeshiva system was not just built to teach Torah. The yeshiva system was built in answer to assimilation. So the whole thing came about. So let's talk about the problem. Let's talk about the mission. Let's talk about the cause. The way to work on selflessness is not by self-negation. The way to work on selflessness is to understand the cause and become synonymous with it. We're all created for the sake of connecting to the Almighty, the greatest of all pleasures. He's good, He gives. First chapter of Mesilas Yesharim. You open your Chumash, and the first generation's already degenerated. It was one was worse than the next. Adam was banished from Gan Eden. Then we have the different generations that were destroyed. The flood that we read about in Chumash, the Mabul, the flood that we only see in the Midrashim, was another one. Dor HaFlaga, the Tower of Babel. Mankind degenerated. And then comes Avraham Avinu. He discovers Hashem, he preaches Hashem, Vayikra b'Shem Hashem. Of his children, it was Yitzchak that followed, then Yaakov. But it was with Avraham Avinu that Hashem, because he was the one that went against the tide, discovered Hashem. So Hashem went and promised him, your children will receive the land. It's not just the land, it's responsibility for humanity, for bringing Hashem's name to humanity, Hashem's values. And thus became the Jewish people. And humanity knows that that's our place. And we were Zolcha, we have Shechina among us. First it was the Mishkan, the first Beis HaMikdash, the second Beis HaMikdash. We weren't worthy. We were banished from the land. Yes, we were all over the place. But wherever we were Jews. Over the generations, there were different issues with observance, different areas that communities were weak in, individuals were. But it was obvious that a Jew is a Jew. We're at a point in time where such a large percentage of the nation is embarrassed to identify Jewish. Or instead of bringing the name of Hashem to the world, claims there was no creator. The values adopted, and perhaps, in many cases, at the forefront of pushing values that are counter to Torah, are our own brothers. Is the greatest Chil Hashem there's ever been. Most Jews don't know they were created. We understand that although there were no prophets walking the streets, the Holocaust was predicted by the Torah giants of that generation. They saw that the abandonment of Torah values, which was just so widespread, was going to bring for the entire destruction, the destruction of the entire Yeshiva of Eastern Europe. Meshech Chochmah Meir Simcha wrote about it and said it was going to start from Germany. The Chavetz Chaim, in his later days, was openly predicting it. We don't understand who he told what and why. There are some people that he sent to Eretz Yisrael and said, quoted the pasuk, "V'artzion tia pleita v'aya kodesh." You want to survive, go to Eretz Yisrael. Others he didn't trust would remain observant if they came here, and he told them instead, get married, have children, at least leave somebody over. Someone will remember you. And yes, 1,000 years of a Jewish presence in Eastern Europe, flourishing Jewish communities, it just came to an end. But what seems to be the more difficult thing to understand is that proportionately, it was the observant communities that suffered more casualties proportionately than the non-observant ones. We find this in the Navi. When the Jewish nation split, there was Yehuda and Yisrael. Yehuda remained observant. Yisrael went to idolatry. And the Navi comes and says, V'riv Hashem im Yehuda. Hashem is coming with a claim against Yehuda. Yisrael, the 10 tribes, they were led astray by their leadership for political reasons. But the claim was Yehuda did nothing. Yehuda did nothing to save them. Before the Holocaust, it was the Chavetz Chaim and not that many others that made it clear that it was the responsible of Torah true Jewry to reach their brethren. It seems that the Torah true Jews of Eastern Europe were held responsible for the entire Yishuv. It's really not for us to judge. But there were few attempts to do outreach. Most were really concerned with preserving their own communities. Seems that after the Holocaust, we didn't learn our lesson. Most Torah observant communities are insular. There's a fear of outreach. What effect will it have on us? And that's part of the tragedy. Your average non-observant Jew today doesn't know a thing. He claims to be anti. He doesn't know what it is that he's anti. He doesn't know what he's against. He doesn't know what he's rejected. He hasn't rejected it. He never embraced it. Most don't know it exists. There was this huge sign that was up in the Haredi neighborhoods of Yerushalayim a few years ago, quite a few years ago now. It was fictitious, but very powerful. It was as if it was written by someone non-observant who had passed away and was up in heaven and writing a letter to the observant Jews in Israel. And it began, Why didn't you tell me? Why did you allow me to waste my life away? Why didn't you share with me the riches, the depth, the beauty of Torah? How is it that I grew up in the land of Israel and no one showed me what exists? Again, it was fictitious, but it's so powerful and so true. It's true in Israel, it's true everywhere. The non-frum, they're our enemies. They're our brothers. And he claims we have against them, we should be having against ourselves because it's our fault. We've done nothing about it. It's great. We've rebuilt Torah after the Holocaust. And of course, without that, the Jewish nation can't survive. But Baruch Hashem is great. Yeshivas are flourishing everywhere. But we've neglected 80% of the nation. What's needed is not a group of individuals that's going to go and reach the non-frum. What's needed is a change of attitude among frum Jews to effect a change of attitude among non-frum Jews. For them to know once and for all, Torah is true, Torah is relevant. Torah teaches a quality of life they've never experienced, what they want. At least give them the opportunity to read it and reject it. At least let them know what it is. But really to create an attitude among our brethren that part of being Jewish, an essential part of being Jewish, is studying Torah, knowing what's in it. What this leadership program is about, more than anything else, is for you to live this cause, for you to feel it. Not to give you an opportunity to be one of those leaders, but for you to feel it strongly enough where you're going to do something about it, where you're going to take responsibility. We need leaders who are going to bring about a change of attitude among the frum, and of course, a change of attitude among those who aren't. We're not promising you careers. We're certainly not promising you fame. We can promise you that you're going to be faced with lots of cynicism. And you'll probably fail quite a few times before you really learn how to do things. What do we promise you? If you build a passion for the cause, that's what you live for. Whatever conditions you're going to be living under. You're going to be alive. There's going to be a greatness, an aura of greatness, living with a sense of purpose. You are going to feel great. You're going to discover strength and stamina, talents you never thought you had. You're going to work very hard. You won't necessarily get much positive feedback. But there's something special you're going to feel. Moshe Rabbeinu was labeled in the Torah, Eved Hashem, the servant of Hashem. This is the greatest honor that can be bestowed upon a human being. His whole being is in service of the Creator. If the greatest pleasure possible is closeness to Hashem, what can be greater on this earth than becoming an Eved Hashem, living in the service of the Creator, living for Kiddush Shem Shamayim, raising a family with that in mind, instilling that in everyone you can have any effect on. We're promising you nothing physical. But we're promising you the most pleasurable state of existence on this earth. Feel the cause. Be ready to fight for it. Become Avdei Hashem, servants of the Almighty. There's nothing that competes. Nothing comes close. That's what this program's about. I hope and pray that we'll be successful in reaching all of you.